here. Been through hell and back. I'm here. I'm stronger than I know I'm gonna be fine. I'm here.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Golden's Guide. I'm Deborah Hawkins, your host, and Lyanca is here from Austin, Texas, my co-host.
Hey, everybody.
How's the weather in Austin?
It's actually really beautiful because it's a little bit cooler than it normally is. So we have been enjoying some lovely rain showers as well.
Well, it's raining here too. Everyone, I did just want to remind you, if you are just catching this episode and haven't seen the ones before, as I'm expanding, my life's expanding, the show is too, as you can see. Lyanca has joined us at the desk as my co-host, and we are now Golden's Guide. So not that I'm not going to talk about divorce, I'm still going to talk about that, but we're going to talk about all kinds of other things that interest women, that interest maybe everyone for that matter. But we're here in Bronx Studios. I'm so excited to be with you today because we have a great topic, right, Lyanca?
We do. We're going to be talking about kind of a topic that kind of seems to be a little bit forbidden. I mean, I didn't find a ton of information about it on the website, but it is something that that we all kind of have in the back of our minds. And that's intuition. So
Yes.
We'll be talking about, our journey and how to get it going and what to look for and some tools that you can use at the end of this video. So stick around and let's dive in.
Well, this subject has literally, it's intrigued me my whole life and many of my friends and, well, I think almost anyone you ask, they have somewhat of an interest in it. And yeah, I'm excited for our conversation today and how other people can find out how to connect into themselves more.
Yeah, I mean, speaking about how you, how you came about, finding this journey for yourself. I remember a story that you told on another podcast. About how it all started. When I interviewed you, I asked you the question about what made you start on this journey of intuition, self-discovery, and really just knowing more about or seeking more about what's going on with us. And you told me a pretty fascinating story about a childhood memory and your mother. Can you talk a little bit about that, just for the folks that maybe didn't hear it? Because I think it's really, really interesting.
Sure. I think it did. It did probably open me up in some ways. My mother, as you know, passed away when I was a child and a young teenager. She was only 44, so it was very traumatic. And I was literally just kind of falling apart. And I was having trouble sleeping. And I remember going to bed that night. And at some point, they were almost ready to put me on some sort of drug so that I could sleep. I was that distraught. And during the night, I actually saw a vision of her. And she was at the foot of my bed. And it was like this really beautiful image of my mom, almost like etheric, and she just said, "Deborah, mother's all right." And then I thought, oh my gosh, I sat up in bed. I thought, oh, we can have a conversation. There's so much I want to tell you, Mom. And then she was gone. But in that moment, all the fear that I had around her death and around being in our home and being scared, it just disappeared. So, obviously I went to tell my dad and, my dad just thought, like most people do when you're young and you explain an event like that, I don't think people really believe you. No one actually believed me. but I know, like I know that she came to me. And it's funny
Mm.
because she's been passed over 40 years now. And
Wow.
I have begged really at other times for her to come to me again, and it's never happened. And I think it's just because I needed that so badly in that moment. She came to really soothe me and assure me that everything was going to be okay. And I'm not the only one. I think almost everyone has some sort of mystical experience, and
Mm-hmm.
but I do believe that that particular event happening to me so young, I believe that it just opened me up to just knowing that things are not always as they seem here. There's other
Mm.
things going on. But I do believe everyone, whether people have visions or whatever. I think as far as intuition goes, that's what opened me up. But I also believe that everyone has that gut feeling, intuition to a certain
Mm-hmm.
degree. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've heard that notion before. One of the things that happens for me is I will, I'll really be kind of, because I've been working with you for a while, I do kind of know how to look for intuition. But sometimes, I mean, something will happen that's very synchronistic, or I'll get this maybe I'll see a butterfly and I'll know that's my grandma Gloria, and I just feel it. But then all of a sudden, like whoosh, this negative talk comes in my head, and then I start doubting that. Like I'm like, oh, I must be tripping. Like, oh my god, like that's so stupid. Quit thinking like that. That stuff doesn't happen. What do you
Hmm.
say to that? Like, what do you say to people that kind of start? Because I think that happens to all of us, right?
I would agree.
At some point. Well,
Yeah,
a lot of us.
yeah, I think the universe, God, your angels, whatever you want to, however you want to word it. I mean, I think we're being spoken to all the time in some way.
Mm,
Maybe especially in times where, we're in trauma or we're troubled. I think if we're open to it, that things like that can show up. I mean, I have signs that come from my father's past now too. I have signs that come from my mother and my father, and I really know that it's them, and I think so many people
mm,
do. Um, but I think that something like that may happen, or you may get a hit about something and you think it's your intuition, and then you doubt it. And I think we all doubt it because I believe it's been trained out of us from a very early age. Now, for me, the religion that I was raised in, just they weren't going to have any part of anything like that. And I think people are scared of what they don't understand. So I get that a lot of people push it away or don't believe in intuition. Um, but I do think we all have it. It just depends on how much. It's like anything else. I mean, if you study piano and if you do your lessons every day, you're going to get better and better. I think it's the same with intuition. If you are tuned in and paying attention and asking and looking, that it will show up. But I do believe as children, just like with me, it gets trained out. A child may see something or hear something, and they go to their parents, and they're like, "Oh, honey, yeah." So we're taught not to trust that.
right. I was looking up some information about. It seems that children seem to have that. You'll always see these reports about different children being able to speak about places that they've never even seen or heard of before. There could be really no way that they would have been exposed to some of these things, but yeah, and when they're younger, they express that
Mhm.
without any, without getting. They don't have any qualms about it yet. They don't have that doubt barrier. can you talk a little bit about what your experience is when it comes to children? I know that you and David had an experience as well,
Hmm.
um, when he was younger.
Yeah, actually, David had an experience with my mom when he was 12 years old. It was right at his 12th birthday. And he actually saw a vision of my mother. I did not see it, he did. But I can remember back then, he was pretty freaked out about it. I think it's
And
one
it seems
thing.
your mom was pretty persistent.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
got her ways.
Yeah, she was making her way in no matter what. And of course, David had never met my mother. He had only seen pictures of her, but he knew it was her. And
Yeah.
but he was upset about it, rightfully so. Um and I really didn't know what to do with it. And I think parents don't know what to do when their children say to them they saw something, or their intuition came true or whatever. But I can remember thinking, wow, I don't really know how to help him. I know now there's a lot more information out there about encouraging your children, but you know what? I really believe I probably participated in shutting David down, because it was one thing for me to look at intuition and to have my experiences, but since I really didn't know how to help him, I didn't encourage that much because I didn't know what to say. And it's hard for a 12-year-old kid to see his past grandmother on Sunday and go to school the next day with all of his kids. With all of his friends. So, that's a lot for a kid, to process. So I wish I had been in a place where I could have supported him more in that, because I think it kind of scared me too. It was one thing for me to
Yeah.
be experiencing it, but it was quite different for my child too.
Yeah, with internet nowadays, we were talking about a time where we didn't have a lot of information, and of course, I was doing some research on this particular topic and didn't find a lot of articles. It seems that they just weren't either being published, or just the statistics, or people just stay away from it. However, I did find a statistic that said that the intuition as an industry,
Hmm.
according to Forbes, it's $2.2 billion a year industry, and it's expected to exceed that in 2021. So there's definitely a belief or a curiosity that Americans have with this particular topic, or if you want to call it industry, but there is definitely something there. And I think that a lot of it goes back to what you said. Many people have had experiences that they probably have never even, maybe said, admitted out loud, or they just have it to themselves and are seeking more information.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool that we now have the internet to be able to share these experiences. What do you say to someone that, is really looking to maybe reinforce their intuitive abilities?
Well, I think the big thing
How
is
to get untrained? Because you use the word trained out. What is that? How do we get back to that if that was our innate ability?
well, I think it's just quite normal that we have, another ability. We've been told our whole lives, and it's scientifically proven that we only use a very small part of, our brains
Hmm.
and, you know, uh, the capabilities that we have. I think just being open to it, just being open to, um, that's there. Just like the left and right brain, the left brain is very logical and the right brain is more intuitive. Creative and intuitive. I think there's even scientific proof now in some cases. I know some people that are highly intuitive, they've done brain scans on them, and they can see places in the brain that are highly lit up that may not be in someone else. I still believe that everyone can, but I think some people are just more, as you said, more curious, more interested, maybe spend more time studying or paying attention. Because the fact that you said that it's a several billion-dollar business, well, that tells you how many people have had these experiences, are interested in intuition, want to know more how to. I think it's about trusting yourself, because we've gone from the time we were young. Most of us have been trained to listen to everyone else. Somebody else got
Right.
the answer, Somebody else is going to tell you
Some
what to do.
guru.
Yeah. Or even when we were children, we
Yeah.
weren't always encouraged to make our own choices. There are some great parents that do that, but a lot of parents and families and culture, believe that you don't have the answer inside. I've been through it. I've got the answer, and I'm going to give it to you. And I think that's changing now, especially by the statistics you just shared. People want to know. People want to trust themselves. They don't want to ask everybody, They want to know that the answers are inside them. And I do believe that. I do believe the answers are inside of us. Yeah.
Sure.
And going back to your question, I think it's also about being really, getting quiet, because I feel like that we're all like radios.
Inundated.
Yeah. And it depends on, what channel you're on. And it's kind of like we have these antennas that are out there, because everyone knows that we're actually energy, and we're picking up stuff all the time. I mean, everyone knows you can walk into a room and someone can be very angry, and nobody has to tell you that. How do you know that? How do you
I feel it.
know that? You
I
feel
felt it
it
when you said it.
yes, you feel it. So I think a lot of times, our intuition comes across as a feeling, and I want to talk about that a little bit later. There's the 4 clairs. They call them the 4 clairs, and some are seeing, some are hearing, but we'll get to that in a minute. But going back to we all have this innate ability to really pick up what's going on out there. And I think a lot of us sometimes are really stressed out, because it's like if you were tuning a radio and just flipped it and it just went to station, and you're not getting anything clear. So I think you have to be very deliberate about when you are wanting to tune in and really learn how to be intuitive.
Yeah. So you mentioned about the different clairs. I'm curious. I kind of know what they are, but for those who might be newer to intuition and to how they receive their intuition guidance, what is that? How does that break down?
Well, it's called the 4 clairs, and it's CLAIRS. And so there's clairaudient, which is the way some people, their intuition comes through. They hear it. They hear something within their mind. There's clairsentient, which I think that is the most common. It's probably more of what I feel I am, and it's a feeling. It's not. You may not actually hear someone say something, but you just get this feeling of knowing something. And I've had that. I think that's the most common. Then there's clairvoyant, which is where people can actually see with their intuition
Mind's eye.
gifts. They can actually see things in their mind's eye. And then the last one is um, cognizant, which is almost it's when you have all the clairs and
Oh,
you
okay.
actually kind of know. You can see, you can hear, you can sense. It's kind of everything. And those are super highly intuitive people, and there are many, many out there, and it's been scientifically proven. But going back to how we are all intuitive, I mean, how many times, Lyanca, this has happened to everyone, everyone. I mean, how many times have you been thinking of someone and the phone rings and it's
Oh
them?
gosh. Yes, absolutely. All the time.
Or you were thinking about someone and you run into them at the grocery store.
I've even had a dream. I'll wake up and tell my husband, "Oh my gosh, I had Lisa was in my dream and the babies," and I hadn't seen them for or talked to them in the whole year for the pandemic, and they all of a sudden out of the blue text us, "Hey, we want to go to Jamaica. We want to see you guys." And I thought that is so crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought it was amazing too, that, something told us to reunite and to be closer.
Um, Again, I've had people ask me like, how do I know it's not? How do I know if it's my real intuition or if I'm making it up? Because a lot of people
Mm,
think, oh, I heard something or I saw something in my mind's eye or I felt something, but I must be making this up.
I
And
do that.
and
I'm like, I am tripping.
one of the things I like to explain to people that I've learned over the years, and a very one of my spiritual teachers from 20 years ago shared with me, is that if an intuition comes to you, however it comes in the clairs, or even a dream, if it comes to you in a fearful way, that's not true intuition.
Interesting. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, there and a lot of times our mind does kind of take over, right? And can put us,
Yes.
oh
Monkey
my God,
mind.
monkey mind, yes. So I think if it's true intuition, I mean, true intuition comes from the deepest part of your love self.
Wow.
It's never going to scare you. And I think this leads to another conversation around um, wherever intuition comes from, it's not the brain, it's somewhere else in our body. That's like when people
Wow.
say, I feel it in my gut, or the hairs are standing up on my arm. I know you get a certain feeling.
I'm like, you're making my arm hair stand up right now.
Yeah. So I think that our body can also be an indicator for us around our intuition as well. But
Interesting.
I've always remembered that my teacher telling me that if something comes to you and it makes you scared or fearful, that's your mind. That is not true, loving, divine intuition. Don't you
Boy,
love that?
I do. I do, and I can't believe you haven't shared that with me
Oh,
because I got like monkey mind. Mine is like a orangutan in there, like he's just going to town sometimes, and I
um,
wish I would have known that
I think I've told
sooner.
you. It's probably just been a long time, but
Or just maybe I worded it out, but no, that's beautiful because a lot of times I will get these really big bad feeling, and then I'm like, oh, and da da da. And you're right, true guidance, true intuition that feels really good for me comes from a place of love.
right,
And wow, that's huge.
yeah.
That really is. Yeah.
I want to say one more thing about that. True intuitives, highly intuitive people, it doesn't mean that they don't get information that could be, I mean, there are people who know when an earthquake's coming. I mean, animals know,
Right.
for goodness, I mean,
Yeah.
animals can tell. We never even think about the fact that an animal can sense when a storm is coming or something like that. So, I think it's silly just to discount all this other abilities that we have, and I think I just don't want people to be scared of it, um, because
Yeah. I
because
mean,
it's
I
such
have
a
been.
yeah. If I didn't finish my train of thought, I got sidetracked there. If a highly intuitive person gets some sort of hit that there may be an earthquake or maybe something bad is going to happen, my understanding and what I've heard is that even if it's delivered, it won't be delivered in a way that makes them fearful. It's almost like, here's some information. Okay.
Mm,
Here
it's
is
almost like matter of facts.
exactly, it's facts. It's not going to
Yeah.
be an oh my God kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I
That
think
makes
that's,
sense.
yeah. Um, the other thing is when you think about intuition, it can be like, sometimes I think we're plugged in and we don't know we are. I mean, you and I have talked about this. Like when you think back to 9/11, there
Uh-huh.
were people that for whatever reason changed their plans at the last minute, decided not to get on the plane,
There were a
decided
lot of people.
decided not to go in. I think that we can get intuitive hits sometimes that we're not really comprehending. It's just there's something called sponda, which is
You said that.
which is just you just act on it without
Hmm.
thinking or recognizing as intuition. I mean, how many times have you like even decided, oh, I'm gonna take this exit, like all of a sudden, and then you can see way down the road there's a wreck or an accident or who knows what. So it's happening all the time. The universe, God is speaking to us all the time. It's just it depends on how curious you are, how tuned in you are. But I think the billion-dollar industry shows exactly what's happening, I still believe that God and the universe is just continually speaking to us. Again, it's whether we can get quiet enough. That's why we do meditation. That's why, we spend time in reflection so that we can really hear. I think that's so important.
It really is. It really is. Deborah, when you're talking about so we can really hear and get in quiet, are there specific tools or I know you've talked about a couple things with me that you could share with folks that are just listening in right now that
Sure.
maybe could take away and start to strengthen their trust in their intuition.
Absolutely. I think when you begin being curious about it, of course, like I said, the biggest thing is to pay attention. I think seeing repeating numbers is a way for you to begin to notice that
Interesting.
there's something maybe you're asking or you're being given guidance. I see like I have a system in my mind for every number. I see it has a meaning for me. And so when I see repeating numbers, it's an immediate, and I see them mostly on the car tags all the time. So it's almost like anywhere I go, I'm getting that information. Again, I think you've got to be open to it. You got to be looking for it. There are certain animals, like, not dogs necessarily, but I mean, if animals show up in your world that you don't normally see, like I saw a blue
Mhm.
heron the other day, and I
Wow.
sat down and, I've probably seen one in my whole life. And they're not around here that much. But if you see animals that you don't normally see, I think that's also, you can ask yourself, get quiet, journal. What is that? What does that animal mean to me? Did I have a feeling when I saw the animal or when I saw the number or whatever the situation is? Keeping an intuitive journal, I think, is key.
You told me that.
Yeah, because a lot of times you might get information today that might not mean anything to you for several months, and then all of a sudden you go back and you look and you can see that. And I also think the more that you write things down and list them, it's more in your mind. It's going to make you pay more attention.
You also mentioned keeping a separate journal specifically for those, maybe those things that you see, whether it be repeating numbers or the animals, whatever those things are. You mentioned like keeping a separate journal so that way you can go back and kind of look at that. Specifically.
Well, and
I thought that was super cool. I was like, yes, I am doing that tomorrow. Like I just learned that and I just implemented it.
Well, and I also think it's because a lot of times, and I've done this before, especially if I've gotten a really unusual intuitive hit that I'm questioning, I will write it down and then I will also share it with someone that I trust. Because if it's something really big, it's like if I got a hit that something was going to go on in my life and I shared it with you and then it really happened a week later, that's like true validation coming right back, right? So,
yes.
So that's something else. Yeah, always writing them down. Also, dreams.
It's another reason to have a buddy watch this show with you.
Exactly, have a buddy watch the show with you.
Like a book club.
Also, dreams. I've always, written my dreams down in my journal. I think dreams, now sometimes they're just flat out crazy and you can't make any sense out of them. But sometimes there's a feeling. Have you ever woken up and you have a feeling from the dream that you just can't shake?
Yes.
I think there's something to that you might want to really pay attention to and write down, what feelings were coming up. When the dream, we talked about true intuition will never scare you. I think that's very important to remember.
That's huge.
Also, the consistency in asking and paying attention. I don't think you can do it, just like you can't play the piano great or do anything really great. You've got to do it on a consistent basis, just like meditation doesn't help if you do it once a year, And speaking of, meditation helps to calm the brain and it will help you be more intuitive because all of a sudden you don't have the monkey brain going on and on and on. And so there's more room in there to if your intuition is trying to tell you something, for you to see it, hear it, or however you're going to receive it.
Right.
And then the other thing, and I love this one, I want everybody to try this, get out of your daily routine. If you drive to work a certain way every day, take another route. If you put your left shoe on before your right every day, do the opposite. If you brush your teeth with your right hand, brush your teeth with your left hand. Because what you're doing is you're just creating new neural pathways in the brain. So it will be open to, being on the lookout for something that you might be on autopilot and may not see. So I would say those are the tools that I think for someone really interested in, looking at their own intuition and how they can stop looking for answers outside themselves. Gosh,
isn't that something that we all just, it's, one of those pre-programmed things that we do.
Well, and I also think, in the last year and a half with COVID and, we've all spent so much time by ourselves. I think that is probably increased. People are spending more time alone, or they're not, they haven't been as busy. And again, the person that I just interviewed, just before this show, she had been to a silent meditation retreat. And
Interesting.
And I've talked about that a lot on the show, but anything you can do for even small amounts of time to get quiet, nature really supports us going internal and hearing the deep voice inside of us. So, there's a lot we can do to foster the ability, I think. So maybe we'll put these tools on the website.
On the website, yes, for sure.
Great.
We will get those up there, and I will put them in email. So if you sign up to join us in any of the communities, whether that's on Facebook or on Instagram at Golden's Guide, that's Golden's with an S, Golden's Guide, and goldensguide.org.
Goldensguide.org is the new website. However, if you go to Golden's Guide to Divorce, you're still going to go to the right place, but eventually we will be all moved over to Golden's Guide. So,
yay!
Any final thoughts, Lyanca?
We could talk about this subject for forever. For hours and hours. But we do need to wrap up. And, we've been working with, the new branding and stuff like that. And I think that when we talk about intuition and we talk about trusting our own selves, I think that comes from a place of within. And, the tagline in our song is all about, just perseverance and seeing that sunshine after a storm. And it really takes sometimes leaning into your intuition to being able to find that sunshine. So with that, I will give the new tagline. This is Golden's Guide with Deborah and Lyanca. Just reminding you to know that you are stronger than your dark thoughts, because your soul is golden. And we just want to remind you that.
Great.
Anyway, thank you for joining us, guys. We love you. Have a great afternoon.
Absolutely. See you, Lyanca, next time. Bye.
I am here. After all my tears, I am here. Facing all my fears, I'm alive and I'm alright. Yeah, I know I'm gonna be fine. I am here. Been through hell and back. I am here. I am stronger.